Oh, dude, it's such a disaster in here. Bumpers everywhere. There's a freaking hood in the corner. Whole freaking engine in a box. Oh, man. It has been a very interesting 2 weeks since getting back from Florida. And today I'm gonna tell you why. One big thing that you guys need to see right now is my brother's 1995 Mitsubishi Delica. I know this isn't what this video is about, but I just want to explain my current situation right now for no particular reason. I just think you guys deserve to know. One, I've been sick like all week. I just have like this cold and it's lingering. It sucks. You might be able to hear it in my voice, but my sinuses are on fire. And my brother and I have been tearing apart his Mitsubishi Delica because he bought this car almost a year ago and he discovered a few months later that it has terrible frame rot. Yup, it's that bad. So since I have this garage space, this heated garage space, I told my brother that I would help him fix this frame rot. My brother and I spent a couple days tearing the suspension apart, and then we found a mobile welder who just worked all day today. This was day one of him actually repairing the frame rust, and he's been at it. So the rear has already gotten started. You can see he's already painted some of it, and a lot of the rust back here has been patched. I wanted to film this video earlier today, which would have allowed me all day to edit it and get it up, but the mobile welder was running his generator, couldn't really film. And also, dude, I haven't been feeling that great, which just sucks. Anyway, you guys are here for a reason. Let's get to it. Now here's the thing, as this car sits, it is a 10-second car. I don't care, it ran an 11.000 second quarter mile at 126 miles an hour. Guys, that is 1,000th of a second off from a 10-second car. So has it run a 10-second pass yet? No. Does it have it in it exactly how it sits? Yes, this car will go 10 seconds. I'm gonna go 10 seconds in this car, and that is the next big goal on the channel. Now, I think most of you guys believe me and agree with me when I say that this is a 10-second car, but I'm still gonna prove it. Thing is, like I said, I know that this motor has a 10-second pass in it. Bone stock B18C1 internals, nothing has been modified. This engine is probably the exact same engine that rolled off the assembly line from Honda just under 30 years ago. This engine, however, well, this block, however, has been slightly modified. And a lot of you guys probably know about that block. Probably been wondering about that block. Where is it? Why aren't you putting the built motor in it? Why are you playing around with a stock GSR? Today, I'm gonna explain that. And I'm also gonna explain why it's back. About 3 years ago, I built this motor for the first time. I had CSS done to the block. I had the short block assembled. I bought the head. I put it all together, put it in this car, and made 470 wheel horsepower on a built motor, and it didn't last very long. Melted a bunch of pistons, had a ton of issues with it. I'm not pointing any fingers, but guys, it was built with quality parts, I will say that. The turbo setup at the time was definitely lacking, and I would say that the old setup was mostly motor. It was like a sick engine, right? Fully built LS VTEC long block with CSS, but the supporting mods were really lacking. 1 year ago, I had rebuilt that motor for the third or fourth time. I had it in this car, and the day before the dyno, I decided to pull that built LS VTEC engine out and throw in this bone stock Integra GSR engine, B18C1, because that engine was making some weird noises, and it was the day before the dyno. So my options were throw the thing on the dyno, hope that the noises weren't actually an issue, and just absolutely send it, try to make like 500 wheel horsepower, and risk the chance of that engine completely failing in a really detrimental way. That would be thousands of dollars out the window, because there are going to be a lot of quality parts in that engine. There were a lot of quality parts in that engine. Or pull that motor out, reschedule the dyno for about a week away, swap in this bone stock Integra GSR engine, and send it on the dyno, which is what we ended up doing. If you guys recall, the first time in the dyno, this long block made 479 horsepower to the wheels. That's just downright unnatural. But it did it. We detuned it to about 380, and then I took this car to Automotion. I drove it all the way to Grid Life just to spectate, but we drove it all the way out to Michigan, which is about 3 hours away and 3 hours home. I drag raced it last season. Like, I've done quite a bit with this long block. And then this winter, as most of you guys know, I took this car, trailered this car all the way down to Florida like 2 weeks ago to race my friend Gingium in his LS Turbo swapped Volvo 240 station wagon, and try to reach my goal of running at least an 11:99 quarter mile time, because this car, this chassis, this car in my ownership has never gone faster than a 12.6 before that. And to my surprise, and to probably most of your surprise, the car beat the Volvo and it went 11.000, as I said. This stock long block has been absolutely blowing my mind, and it still seems to be running healthy even after all of that thrashing. In the last video, you guys saw that after all the track tuning, this engine is, as it sits, currently making 491 horsepower to the wheels at 8,000 RPM at boost cut of 20 PSI. This engine is fully sent right now. It is seriously cranking, and it's still in one piece for now. So those are all the details. Here's the plan. I'm gonna go 1099 or faster on this setup right here. Well, kinda. We're keeping the long block, we're keeping the turbo kit, but I'm gonna be making some changes to the chassis and a couple of engine improvements and drivability improvements to make this thing 100% go 1099. So I'm gonna go 10s on this setup and then pull this motor out and throw in the built LS VTEC and go even faster. I want to say that 9s will be the goal with the LS VTEC, but we're not quite there yet. I don't want to get ahead of myself, one step at a time. We already broke into the 11s, now we got to break into the 10s. Then once we're into the 10s, we can break into the 9s. That'd be pretty wild. So how am I going to make this setup go 1099? Well, I think it probably already has it in it, but the thing is, I want this engine to survive. I want to put as few passes on it as possible to go 1099. So if I can get it on my first pass out of the drag strip, then I would be completely happy stopping right there. I want to go 10s and pull this long block out of the car and save it for something. Maybe build this motor and replace the LS VTEC with this motor. Like, GSR is such a badass engine. I want to keep this engine healthy and alive. I don't think it is at optimal health right now, but it's still kicking, and I want to keep it that way. Some things I'm going to change about the setup right off the bat are, I have a coil unplug conversion kit for it. We'll be going over that in a future video, probably coming up pretty soon here because the parts are almost all here. We're going to be getting flat foot shifting working, finally. I didn't have flat foot shifting the entire time I was in Florida, and it still went 11.000 seconds. With flat foot shifting, this thing is going to be a missile, and I'm going to be doing various like body modifications to it to make it more aerodynamic and less prone to creating drag. Then once I'm finally able to get this car out to the track and run that 10, like I said, we're going to pull the GSR out of this car and put in the built LS VTEC motor. Now, how am I gonna have time to do all this? Well, the tracks around Chicago don't open for another 2 months or so. And I've heard that the first month of the track being open is really crappy. Like, you have like almost no grip, and it's just like, I was told it's not even worth going for like a month or so. With that said, I already have pretty much all the parts that I'm gonna need to rebuild this engine. I need to get my hands on some rod bearings, main bearings, thrust washers, piston rings, and I think that's it. I have lost motion assembly on order, and I have Skunk 2 Pro 1 cams on order. I'm gonna be reusing my CP pistons and my Manley rods, and then I already have a built B16 head for it. This setup is going to be bonkers. We're gonna make like 600 wheel horsepower, something like that. We're basically gonna max out the turbo. Everything else in the setup probably won't be maxed out by then. I'm hoping that my injectors will be okay on E85. They're 1700cc injectors. I hope that I don't have to get bigger injectors because it's so expensive. And that is the next big goal for the Boosted John YouTube channel. We're going 10s in this car, and then we're throwing that engine in it and going even faster. What you can expect to see going forward on the channel for the next couple of months is going to be, first, making the changes to the car as it sits right now. Then, once this car is set up how I want it to be and ready to go for the track, then we're gonna take some time and start putting that motor together. Doing it this way is gonna be more beneficial for me for a lot of reasons. One is I get to spend some time right off the bat, just kind of tidying up some things with the car. Valve cover gasket's leaking. I think oil pan gasket might be leaking. I gotta do an oil change. There's literally 5 different oil weights in this engine right now. And so it'll kind of give me some time to like get this thing sorted again after Florida. Because Florida was a lot. It was just a hodgepodge of like, let's get this thing going, let's get it there, let's go fast, let's track tune. So it's kind of like when you go away on vacation and you come back and you don't really unpack, you leave your bag sitting around for like a week, and you know, like you gotta dig into that bag and get your stuff and finally put it away, but you just don't want to, so it sits there for a little while. This car is my bag after that trip. I know there's a lot going on here that I need to work on and improve on, but it's kind of just been sitting here, literally under a cover, as you guys saw. I had a cover today because I didn't want the welder to be like spraying sparks at the windows. But this is my bag. This is my bag after vacation. I gotta unpack this baby before we can move on to that. Once this thing is sorted and dialed, obviously we're gonna take it out and do some street rips. We should have some decent weather coming up here in the near future in Chicago. It is March now, so it's starting to get a little bit more normal. Today sucks. You can't see because we're in the garage, but it is nasty outside. And then once this baby is unpacked and sorted and how it needs to be and ready to go to the track in a moment's notice, then I will start working on that engine. This engine's gonna need some work. Like really, it's gonna need some work. Where do I put this thing? It's good enough for me. Come here, baby. Pull her up in front row seat for you. Oh, interesting. I'm gonna probably be out of focus, but so this engine was pretty much freshly rebuilt before I pulled it to swap in the GSR. It had maybe 1,000 miles on it, maybe less, of NA driving, and then it had probably 100 miles, maybe even less, of turbo driving. And I never even went into boost on it. So this engine has probably under 1,000 miles on it total. It's still enough time for the rings to seat, you know, so I can't just slap shit back into it. I gotta clean it really good. I gotta probably ball hone the cylinders or hone the cylinders in some way, shape, or form just to get the cross hatching. And it's still got cross hatching, I can still see it, but it would still just be a good idea to refresh the cylinders, get this whole thing perfectly cleaned up. I wanna repaint it. I wanna make it look nice, or maybe at least just get this paint off of it, because it's, dude, it's like flaking, so gross. This is a built motor, you know, it's supposed to look good, so I'm gonna make it look good. Like I said, I gotta get piston rings, I gotta get a ring gapper, I gotta gap the rings, I gotta get a rod bolt stretch gauge, which I know my boy Boosty has, which, by the way, if you guys don't remember, Boosty helped tear this thing down and help diagnose it. He just found that it was just dirty, and there was a ton of like, you know, residual metal shavings and stuff from the machining process inside of it. Shout out Boosty. He helped with this big time. I appreciate you. Check out his YouTube channel. He started posting like tech tips and stuff like that on how to build motors, like kind of like all of the little insider details that engine builders don't tell you because they don't want to give you their secret sauce. So check out his channel. It's linked in the description down below. She's gonna take some work to get it right, that's for sure. So being able to work on this in the meantime is gonna buy me some time and also create some awesome content. I'm extremely excited about the coil unplug stuff. I've always wanted to play with that. I think it's such a flex to see the coil packs on the valve cover. It's like you see coil unplug on a car and you're like, all right, that car looks fast, right? Like it's just dope. I love seeing coil unplug on B-Series. I hope it works well. I have no experience with it, but that is something that we're gonna probably crack into very soon here on this car, and I'm really excited. Very excited for the future. I remember a couple of months ago, before we went to Florida, I made a video that was like, the EG is back and it's gonna go 11 seconds on its bone stock GSR engine. This video kind of reminds me of that one because I'm just sitting here talking to you guys, setting a goal. This video is gonna serve as proof of the goal. This is the goal. Now we're gonna go crush it. I hope everything goes to plan. Wish me luck. Consider checking out YouTube memberships to join the Boosted John YouTube channel as a member. You gain access to every video before it goes live to the public. So right now watching this, the next video is already live for members. Consider checking it out to support the channel and also see the videos early. Thank you guys for being here. I'm excited for the future. I feel like we should call someone out, like call out another YouTuber or something. I don't know exactly how to go about that in a respectful way. If you guys have any ideas, I know Evan Shanks does some Civic stuff, obviously Boosted Boys, but they're like so fast, it's almost embarrassing to bring this car around them, I feel like. But someday, maybe. If you guys got any other local suggestions, leave them in the comments, and let's do this shit. I'm so excited. Life's crazy. We deserve nothing. Earn everything. I'll see you guys. Oh, I know I'm such a dumbass. I'm probably gonna put this as the end screen. Why do I do it? I know I did it. I know you're seeing this as the end screen.